For viewers across Africa and the rest of the world, this is NC Continental Prime. I'm Kofi Bartels. You're welcome. Nigeria's federal government says it has met with governors of the states in the country over the rising insecurity, and both parties are considering the adoption of state policing as a possibility. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, while speaking to State House correspondents after the meeting in Abuja, says the federal government has also agreed to come down hard on persons found culpable for the rising prices of food by hoarding of grains and essential commodities. Here's Aniedi Edet, correspondent, with more.
It was a meeting between President Bola Tinubu and the 36 state governors in Abuja. The meeting reviewed current challenges affecting the nation, especially the rise in food prices. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, while briefing State House correspondents after the meeting, says that government has set up a committee to deepen their engagement and make the meeting more frequent.
Mr. President and the governors have agreed that these kind of meetings will continue in the interest of our nation. It is important that all the time the federal government and the state governors, who are leaders at the sub-national level, to continue to engage and interact collectively so that issues of national importance will continue to be addressed and we don't leave room for any speculation or for people who may seize the opportunity to say things that are not in the interest of our country.
He says that government has concluded plans to fight against hoarding of grains and commodities in order to fight skyrocketing foodstuff prices.
The National Security Advisor, the Director General of the State Services, the Inspector General of Police have been directed to coordinate with the state governors to look at the issue of those hoarding commodities. At this point that the nation requires food to be brought out to the people so that we can control prices and put food on the table of most Nigerians, other commodity traders are busy hoarding these commodities so that Nigerians will suffer or they will make more money.
Also, the issue of insecurity was discussed, as the minister informed those present that discussions about increasing the number of serving security personnel, including the adoption of state policing, is being considered.
Governors and Mr. President have agreed to set up a committee to deepen the conversation that has happened at the just concluded meeting. Of course, you know that it is impossible to complete most of the issues that were raised at the meeting, so it's going to be a continuous one.
The issue of state policing is one that will spark public debate, considering that before now, the federal government has dismissed this call. Whatsoever the final conclusion will be, citizens will be hoping that it transforms to improve security for Nigerians. In Abuja for News Central, I am Aniedi Edet.
The convener of the Revolution Now movement, Omoyele Sowore, has confirmed that the federal government of Nigeria has decided to withdraw the case of treason allegations against him. Notice of discontinuance officially stamped by the Federal High Court in Abuja on Thursday and signed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, was issued on Wednesday. The notice stated that the complaint or complainant, which is the federal government of Nigeria, intended to discontinue the case, exercising the power conferred on relevant constitutional and legal provisions. Earlier on Wednesday, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja had warned that he might strike out the treason charge if the federal government was not prepared to proceed with the case, which has lingered for 5 years. Earlier, we were joined on the news by Femi Adeyeye, National Publicity Secretary of the AAC, which is Sowore's party.
Never any case And we have always mentioned this, we've outlined this several times to people who care to listen, that the only people who are on trial, the only people who are under any kind of charge is the federal government and the ruling class by extension. So for us, it is just, this is a premeditated, or let me put it this way, it's an outcome that we have prepared for. That at the end of the day, when they get tired of wasting the resources of the Nigerian people, they will discontinue the case. So this is what has played out today. And for us, it is a victory for the Nigerian people, based on the fact that Nigerians, the people clamoring for revolution, revolution in the economy, revolution in our political system, revolution in the way we do things generally. Because as we have it today, Nigeria is on the brink of a collapse. And until we start stamping our feet on the ground and making sure that our voices are heard, would have no headway. So what we've just seen today is a clear testimony that the people have a voice, and that the people, or the power in the people rather, is greater than the people in power. And so that is it for us. It's a victory for the Nigerian people.
The Defense Ministers, or Industries rather, Corporation of Nigeria has resumed the production of arms and ammunition years after it suspended operations. Director General Major General Aniedi Edet made the declaration in Jos when he visited Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, who is a general officer commanding 3 Division of the Nigerian Army. The corporation's 24th Director General said it was undergoing some reforms aimed at meeting its statutory mandates. Well, joining us on the news tonight is Chidi Omeje, a security expert, to look at the implications of this development. It's good to have you on the program tonight, sir. Good evening.
Thanks for having me.
What's your take, your assessment on the resumption of arms production in Nigeria, considering the country's current security challenges?
Well, I mean, the fact that we are talking about resumption of arms production by, I think by DICON, right? That's a good one. We have always expected that Nigeria's DICON should be able to be, at par with its peers. Peers being Brazil, Pakistan, India. Those are the countries that established their own, defense cooperation almost at the same time. But as you can see, ours have never lived up to expectation. The best they could ever produce thing was probably some furniture and then some level of rifles. But if they have decided to reactivate, rather, put life to the industry, to the corporation, then it's a cheering news. It's much expected because of the fact that we are currently, facing multiplicity of internal security challenges, demanding, some of these rifles that they could produce locally. Because of course, the stress right now involved in the foreign exchange. So if we're able to produce some of these things locally, it will go a long way to helping the institutions and of course the country at large. That's my first reaction.
What's your take on the timeliness, of this development?
What do you mean time limit?
The timeliness. That's what I used. Timeliness.
Time limit.
No, timeliness.
Who said the time limit?
Yeah, that's the timing of this particular development. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. Yeah, I made allusion to that. I said that this is about the right time, because we are, at the moment, the country is facing multiple security challenges across the country, demanding the use of some of these rifles. So if we are able to resume production of this, or rather commence the production of firearms locally, the timing is right, because we need them now. Look at the foreign exchange crisis we have. Look at the fact that for you to bring in some of these AK-47 and all manner of things into the country, it will deplete your foreign exchange. So if we're able to do this locally, it will go a long way. So the timing is right. The timing is right.
All right. Security forces continue to destroy, local arms factories yearly. The recently discovered one in Plateau State. Illegal, arms manufacturing factories. What are the factors influencing the proliferation of arms in the country and the setting up of such illegal arms factories?
Yes, anytime you have, I mean, each time you have, spike in crime and criminality, expect that those people carrying out those criminalities must devise means of arming themselves. Now, if they are unable to probably, smuggle in arms through the borders, or if they are unable to seize it from the security agents, then they must find a way to get their arms supply. And of course, they will have to embrace local fabricators. So now the ones that busted in Plateau State is just one of those. I'm very sure that across the country you will have such odious enterprise going on, because the number of small arms in circulation in this country is incredibly high. So you will expect that some of those things are actually done here in this country. So I'm very sure that Plateau State is not the only place you can find such enterprise. Yeah, I mean, there are across the country, so you will definitely, just for the security agencies to put their ears on the ground, they will definitely find more arms depot or arms production centers across the country. I believe that much.
Okay. Also, the issue of state policing coming up, the president meeting with the state governors. He himself was a governor of a state, Lagos State, and I'm sure he understands what the governors are saying. Exploring the possibility now of moving Nigeria onward towards a system where you have policing at the state level run by the state governors. Are there risks associated with this decentralizing law enforcement through a possible establishment of state police in Nigeria?
Obviously, there are risks, but I think the advantage outweighs whatever risk we're talking about. I mean, the risk people keep talking about is the fact that the state governments might misuse those agents. Look, we are battling security crisis across the country that the policing system we have currently, the centralized police system we have currently, have proved ineffective. So, I mean, we have spoken about this issue of state police, and I'm very sure that it's coming to the front burner. I'm very happy that the federal government and the governors are coming to an understanding that this is the right time, or rather, in fact, the right time was yesterday even. So it's about time we consider that. I know that there are implications, really. I know that we have some, not very good politicians who might take advantage of such, asset in their hands to, to deal with their opponents or to do all manner of untoward things. But the entire thing, the global advantage of it outweighs that particular risk. So I expect that we should exploit it because it will go a long way to resolving the security crisis we have across the country. We can't afford to keep going on with this central police system. After we have seen the ineffectiveness, for goodness sake, over decades we've seen how we've not. Okay, let me tell you something. Can't you see that the Nigerian police have effectively abdicated their responsibility to the military? The military currently looks like they are now the lead agency in internal security challenges, but it's not supposed to be so. It's supposed to be the police. But because of the ineffective nature of central police system, the military are in the forefront. So I expect that the state police will help resolve that, dysfunction of Nigeria's internal security.
How will the structure be? Sorry to interject, sir, but what kind of structure will be put in place to create a harmonized operation, the state police side by side the federal police, in order to address national security concerns and not jeopardize national security?
We have models. We have models across the world. I mean, any country that's a federation, you usually see that states, the subnationalities usually have their independent police structure, because most crimes are local, and you have to deal with issues that are quite local in the states. So whatever structure, we're not going to reinvent with the wheel here. Is the what it takes for us to see how it is working in other places, and we adopt same, because we have run this central structure for since independence, and we've not gotten the result we need. So now that we have that boldness to explore the possibility of state policing, let's go all the way. There are models already on ground. They should look into that and adopt which one best suits us. That's what I think.
Chidi Omeje, spoken so eloquently. Thank you very kindly for your time tonight, sir.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Luck ran out of an alleged notorious drug baroness in Umuahia in Abia State in southern Nigeria after the Homeland Security, in conjunction with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, busted her den. Identified as Adaobi Nweke, she is said to be the daughter of the notorious Joe King Jaguar, who is now late. New Central's Chinwe Ugeli now reports.
The raid, which lasted for hours between Wednesday, the 14th of February to Thursday, the 15th of February 2024, in her father's house, saw to the recovery of some exhibits which included substances believed to be narcotics, sums of money, among other items. During the sting operation, some other suspects were also arrested.
Of the Governor of Abia State on Homeland Security, in collaboration with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Abia State Command conducted a successful joint operation on the premises of one Miss Adaobi Nweke at number 23 Arochukwu Street by Calabar Road, Umuahia, where the joint team seized a very, very large amount of prohibited drugs.
According to the Senior Special Assistant to Governor Alex Oti on Homeland Security, Mr. Chukwunenye Alajemba, the state government will not tolerate any form of vice in any guise, hence would go any length to fish out all those causing threats to life in the state.
Abia State is not a safe haven for any criminal. No drug lord is allowed to exist here in Abia State. This is the command of the Governor of Abia State, and this is a command that we must all take. Today, Umuahia is going to heave a very good sigh of relief because this woman has ravaged our sons and our daughters. People are dying from drugs.
Also, the Deputy Governor, Mr. Ikechukwu Emeto, warned all such persons who peddle hard drugs in the state to desist forthwith or carry their trade elsewhere.
Stay away from Abia State. We don't need you. You are not part of the development of the state. We need peace-loving people, those that want to develop the state. Drugs can't develop Abia State. We want our youth to be safe and very useful to the government of Abia State.
This situation is not new to the family of Adaobi Nweke, who was said to be a lawyer, as her late father was a constant visitor of the prisons when he was alive for the same offences. In Umuahia for News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
Nigeria's Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, says Nigeria cannot continue to subsidize electricity, adding that the nation must begin a move towards a cost-effective tariff model. The minister said this comes as the country is currently indebted to the tune of 1.3 trillion naira to generating companies and $1.3 billion to gas companies. Adelabu, who addressed a press conference in Nigeria's capital Abuja on Wednesday, said only 450 billion naira was budgeted for subsidy in the electricity sector this year, while the ministry needs over 2 trillion naira for same. He said state governments will now be allowed to generate power independently to supply to their states. Election stakeholders have called for the establishment of a specialized election court that will handle all pre- and post-election disputes to enable their timely resolutions. Now, they say that the increasing number of litigations recorded from the 2023 general elections means there is a need to improve process and amend the nation's Electoral Act so as to reduce the time that election tribunals take to resolve disputes. Here's our correspondent, Idong Joseph, with more.
Election litigations have become a regular feature in Nigeria's election cycle. This usually spans over disagreements with the conduct of party primaries to the election proper, including methods adopted for the declared results. And drawing from the 2023 general elections, About 1,209 petitions were filed by candidates and political parties challenging the entire electoral process. One organization which has monitored the 2023 general elections disputes says that there has been an upsurge in petitions over grievances against the process, but expressed concerns over the delay in resolving the disputes at the courts.
The whole process of court is a difficult process to prove your case and win at the court, because the whole process is cumbersome. One of the things we want to see is that justice is thoroughly done, not on the basis of technicality, on the basis of the substance of the matter.
At this panel discussion, which reviewed the entire litigation process of some election dispute cases, stakeholders here say the conflicting decision between the electoral body and the judiciary is eroding confidence on the electoral process.
Whether the ballot box, should be the final determinant of an election, or the courtroom should be the final determinant, because I think, as a commission, it needs to be recognized that the two elements are part of a single legal process.
If they say it was not issued by them, he wins. If they say that this is the authentic certificate we issue to this man, that is the end of the petition. So in that case, you cannot say it is the court that is returning somebody as winner of the election. No.
The executive director of Kimpak's Development Initiative is calling for a special court to lessen the overwhelming caseload of election disputes.
What we have now, where you have loads of cases and the court is busy for 2 years handling the election matter and then abandon their regular job, is a sustainable process. So we should be looking at probably we have a special court for electoral matters, because it looks like it has come to stay.
Stakeholders have called for a review of current legislation to reduce the litigation timeline, as they say this is too long when placed side by side with the swearing-in of candidates. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Here watching NC Continental Prime, let's turn our attention to the maritime sector. Nigeria's House of Representatives has tasked the nation's apex bank and the Ministry of Finance to adequately notify stakeholders in the nation's maritime sector on the foreign exchange rates being used for payment of fees and levies ahead of time in order not to negatively impact their operations. Now, this was during the plenary as the chairman of the House Committee on Customs raised a motion on the need to rescue the nation's economy from imminent collapse, and restore the investors' confidence in the maritime sector. He accused the Central Bank of Nigeria of raising customs tariff 6 times in the last 6 months, causing inflation and disrupting import and excise duty calculations, thus affecting businesses.
The system in Nigeria, which relies on market-based exchange rate for calculating custom duties, causes fluctuation based on market conditions and poses significant predictability and stability challenges for business, thus necessitating alternative solution for custom duties. Resolve: 1. All the Federal Ministry of Finance and Central Bank of Nigeria to provide adequate notice to stakeholders in the maritime industry and the general public before altering custom exchange rates. All the Central Bank of Nigeria to maintain the system exchange rate for custom duty and excise duty purposes below 1,000 naira to $1.
Worsening insecurity in many parts of Nigeria, in addition to the steady rise in foreign exchange rates, have been identified as the factors significantly contributing to the hike in the prices of food in the country. With low-income earners in most parts of Nigeria struggling to survive, the Borno State government and other stakeholders are brainstorming on finding a solution to the problem. With more, here's News Central's Umaru Kirawa.
The rising prices of essential goods have continued to instill immense burden on the society, especially the already vulnerable communities affected by the ongoing conflicts and displacement. The global aspirations for ending hunger and poverty remains $1 million concern among many Nigerians. The Borno State government, in collaboration with stakeholders from agriculture, trade and finance sectors, recognized the urgency and importance of finding concrete measures to tackle these critical needs of citizens.
We are implementing various programs that are geared towards increasing crop production in the state, especially by adopting modern agriculture.
Diverse strategies are being put forth by members of the business community.
Da kala kallo ka shurma ngo gwamnati ro trailer mi wikina au trailer hu wikina au trailer falli kana ashamma amro samjin dro kalzu samzu na lan afuto wandana kare ishin moso misalo reta so yayi gwamnati aduziya da ina lan afuto wandana ne ye.
Other stakeholders highlighted the significance of supporting local farmers and enhancing agricultural productivity through improved access to resources such as fertilizers, seeds, training programs, as well as storage facilities.
Nigeria is big, the population is massive, so we really need to expand our at least farms, produce what we are going to be self-sustainable. We really need to make sure that at least we have a lot of exports. We have to also grow what we are supposed to be eating here by ourselves so that we can be dependent.
The government is pushing for the establishment of Zakat Commission to provide a window for the collection of funds from well-meaning individuals and organizations to support the vulnerable population. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Nigeria's federal government says that it has approved the release of about 42,000 metric tons of grains to curb the rising prices of food in the market. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, during a joint press briefing with the Minister of Information and National Orientation in the country's capital, Abuja, says the government has also approved subsidizing farming inputs and fertilizer at a fraction of the prices to help farmers in the country. Here's Aniedi Edet with more.
It was a joint press briefing on the state of the nation and efforts being made to tackle challenges related to food security and address the rising cost of food prices in the country. Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation says that the ministry is working to restore trust and confidence to current efforts by governments aimed at tackling the nation's myriad of challenges.
We are determined to restore trust, confidence, and credibility to public information and communication system by engaging in a timely, proactive, and consistent fashion with all our stakeholders.
The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security highlighted current challenges affecting the nation's agricultural sector, giving reasons why government declared a state of emergency on food security.
Land mass is shrinking, and at the same time, access to capital was also becoming unavailable for our farmers. The action of supply and demand really impacted on the supply of food, and that is hence the reason why the state of emergency was declared on food.
He says that with about 70 million hectares of arable land, only about 50% of the land is being cultivated. He adds that government is working to increase food production by investing in dry season farming and has subsidized farming inputs and fertilizer for rice, wheat, and other grains.
What we are experiencing today is that it's a factor of supply and demand. And this is where we are looking at is to ramp up production. And the dry season is one of those areas we want to institutionalize in this country, encourage and have farmers do dry season.
He further adds that the federal government is working with state governors to update the database of Nigerian farmers, which will help in effective planning.
We have also asked them to certify those lists from the local governments. That is to say, we will have at the local government level, we will have a series of about 18 or so officials, which also includes farmer associations in those local governments and also traditional rulers. We have seen in the past where people would put names of associates and friends in the farmer data list, but what we have said is that identify the farmland first. If you go and identify the farmlands and then you put the name to the farm, not to go and get somebody's name and put without having to know whose farm is or where his farm is.
The minister asked that problems like the undocumented export of grains out of the country is being looked into. He says that the federal government has ordered the release of 42,000 metric tons of grains from its reserves, which stands at about 53,000 metric tons, to curb food inflation. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Parenting in this day and time incorporates technology, mental health, awareness, and children's rights. In Nigeria, parenting still holds fast to culture and tradition, although trends are slowly changing. Experts, however, are calling for spending more time and attention in raising successful children. Now here's News Central's Omolola Olalade with more.
In the past 2 or 3 decades, Nigerian parents can easily wink at their children and he or she completely understand. It was a means of non-verbal communication between both parties, especially when a parent is trying to communicate with the child without a third party getting involved. To this parent, it was a means of disciplining the child. In the past, parenting in Nigeria was deeply rooted in communal practices. Parenting in Nigeria has undergone significant changes over time, reflecting the interplay between tradition and modernity. Some Nigerian parents say raising children, especially in today's world, is the foundation of the parent's upbringing, while emphasizing the traditional way of disciplining children.
When you have a good foundation, the mother or the parent have a good foundation, definitely it will affect the child.
We go to a party now, my mom will give us food, they will serve a lot of people. When it gets to our turn, my mom will jump us. But now, your daughter or your son will say, Mommy, why you jump me? So I think then it's far better than now.
So even smack the child self, you say, when I smack the child will be sick. Yeah, something will happen. It's me that it will not be my problem. Yeah, it is not that I will not be taking care of it. But then, our parents doesn't look like that. And we are very strong. They use the beating to correct our brain, to reset our brain, but not now. Children of nowadays, they are spoiled.
Beyond finding the right means to discipline the child these days, experts say parenting in the 21st century is no easy feat, as parents must navigate challenges like technological advancement, cultural changes, economic constraints, and parenting styles to raise morally upright kids who in turn become responsible adults in the society.
Methods have changed. Our parents have leveraged on skill over friendship. Now the vice versa is the case and is the new trend. How then are we able to create a balance between discipline and friendship? Right? Well, I believe now tilting more of friendship, but do not eliminate disciplining your children.
While the dynamics of parenting may have evolved in recent years, experts believe raising children successfully still requires devoting more time and attention to necessary resources. In Lagos, for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Ministers from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger met in the Burkinabe capital on Thursday to discuss creating a confederation. The 3 military regimes formed a defense and economic pact called the Alliance of Sahel States last September. Burkina Faso's Defense Minister General Kassoum Koulibaly said the talks in Ouagadougou were an opportunity to pursue the implementation of instruments, mechanisms, and procedures and legal architecture for the confederation. Foreign ministers of the 3 nations backed the creation of a confederation as a part of a long-term goal of uniting the West African neighbors within a federation at a meeting in December in the Malian capital, Bamako. In the east of the continent, Kenya's veteran opposition and Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga has officially declared his interest in the African Union Commission chairmanship. Speaking to the media in the capital, Nairobi, the former prime minister says he is ready to serve in that position. Odinga, who was accompanied by former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, said he has consulted widely over the matter. He served as the AU High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa between 2018 and February 2023, a tenure that ended due to controversy. His candidature must be backed by President William Ruto's administration. And this could effectively shift the political landscape in the country, as Raila will not be permitted to join the 2027 presidential race. Let's switch our attention to stories from other parts of the world. New figures show the United Kingdom is in recession with two successive quarters of failing GDP in Q3 and Q4 of 2023. The UK's Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, says the economy is more resilient than most people predicted and insists that the government will stick to their guns on its plans to bring down inflation. The news of the recession comes as voters go to the polls in two by-elections on Thursday, with Conservatives fearful of losing one-time strongholds in Wellingborough, Central England, and Kingswood in the southwest.
We always expected growth to be weaker while we prioritise tackling inflation. That means higher interest rates. And that's the right thing to do, because you can't have long-term healthy growth with high inflation, but also for families when there's a cost of living crisis, when the cost of their weekly shop is going up, their energy bills are much higher, it's the right thing to do. The underlying picture here is an economy that is...
It's time for more business stories. Let's join our business desk for this package.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Independent oil marketers have expressed their ability to sell premium motor spirit at a lower rate than Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's the NNPCL retail stations, if they can directly obtain the products from NNPCL. The national president of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Abubakar Megandi, highlighted this issue in a recent interview. He stated that the major challenge faced by independent oil marketers is the NNPCL's refusal to supply the products directly from its depot. As a result, independent marketers have to purchase from third parties at a higher price, contributing to the highest selling price of petrol. Megandi emphasized that if they could obtain fuel directly from the NNPCL, they could sell it at a lower rate, benefiting the masses. The Kenyan shillings relinquished some of its gains in afternoon trading on Thursday as the central bank intervened by purchasing dollars to manage volatility. The currency had surged to its strongest level since June 2023. Commercial banks quoted the shilling at 145 or 146 to the dollar, representing an increase of over 3% compared to the previous day's closing rate of 151 shillings. At one point during the day, the shilling had risen by almost 8%, reaching a bid as strong as 139 to the US dollar. Now, this rally was fueled by foreign inflows into Kenyan domestic debt and the resolution of the $2 billion euro bond maturing in June. The central bank's intervention aimed to stabilize the currency and prevent excessive volatility. And finally, Senegal's diversified funding sources may position it better than some countries to address investor concerns arising from political uncertainty, according to the International Monetary Fund. President Macky Sall's decision to postpone the presidential election has raised uncertainties and sparked protests. However, A significant portion of Senegal's funding is on concessional terms, and the country plans to reduce reliance on volatile private debt by minimizing the issuance of expensive syndicated loans. This approach, along with Senegal's cautious borrowing strategy, could help mitigate potential investor concerns. The IMF spokesperson emphasized that Senegal's diversified and less volatile funding sources may enable it to navigate potential investor concerns. Nonetheless, the IMF also stressed the importance of Senegal staying on track with planned economic reforms to maintain debt sustainability. And that's it on Business News.
And that's all at this hour. Before we go, let's take another look at the major stories tonight. We brought you news that Nigeria's president and governors are considering creation of a state police in the country. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger's ministers have met in Ouagadougou to create a confederation. We also brought you news that Raila Odinga of Kenya has announced his candidacy for the chairmanship of the African Union. Before we go, let's quickly remind you can reach out to us with your eyewitness reports using the WhatsApp number or email address on your screen. Also follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV on the major platforms. And you can watch News Central TV live on these channels and platforms.